Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Hello,
Norm's
gentlemen.
still hiding. Norm and Will still hiding behind microphones.
Look, you can't tell if I'm smiling and having fun now.
Hi, everybody.
How's everybody's mental state? How are we doing? I'm sitting in a dark room all by myself talking to the computer.
Okay, let's talk about our mental state for a second. I've talked about this a little bit, but on my father's side, I have a long family history of bipolar disorder and manic depression. And it has, luckily, I don't seem to be a sufferer of that affliction. However, during this lockdown, about every 6 days, I wake up super freaking depressed. Like just nothing seems like it would. Just nothing seems like it could possibly feel good again.
That seems really normal. I mean, I think that's entirely an appropriate response to the current situation.
The mental calisthenics that I'm reminding myself are, I am not mad at what I think I'm mad at. I'm not upset about what I think I'm upset about. That's the thing I keep on telling myself. Like, this is not the moment to unpack some garbage that's going on in my head. It is like sequestering myself and meditation, medication, whatever it takes, just to kind of get like back to feeling some sort of even keel. And it doesn't last more than maybe a few hours at the most, but damn, it is it's intense. I woke up this morning in a really, really crap mood.
It's funny. Norm, we were talking about this before Adam got here, but like, I've yelled at my kid more in the past month than I probably have in the 5 years preceding.
Yeah.
One of the themes that I've found talking to people on Twitter and Discord and all the other places that we're all chatting now is that even if you're completely unaffected by the disease part of what's happening, if you're not sick, your loved ones aren't sick, you're in a place where people are relatively healthy and you're just staying at home and isolating yourself, the impact of that is having impacts that were impossible to predict and seem excessive, except that they're not. Like, it's okay to be upset and it's okay to be irritated and it's okay. But we have to manage that and be aware of it. And like, I've had the same depression issues. Like, I wake up some mornings, I'm just like, well, I'm just going to go back to sleep for another 2 hours. And then I feel maybe a little bit better or worse. I don't know.
And on the other side of that, I mean, I don't think anyone in my house has had the same, but we definitely had mood swings for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, a 17-month-old has plenty of mood swings, and we find resetting on a regular basis, resetting every day, very consciously resetting our emotions and resetting how we're talking to each other is very important.
Yeah.
Because you can't have these like 3 to 4 day, when things are normal, like ups and downs where, you're not talking to each other or you snap and let things build up. Like that doesn't work as well. We have to shorten that cycle. And in fact, having a 17-month-old, I feel like helps me with that, because I'm already, but before we had to go into lockdown, I've already had to remind myself he can't control what's going on in his world, and I got to be empathetic to that. And now that is manifest in the greater world also.
Yeah, the only way to survive an infant or a toddler is to just give all the way into what is happening at this moment.
Well,
if you're cleaning vomit off your eyeglasses or pulling a nail out of your foot, it is what's happening.
Well, and the good thing about kids at that age too is that, like, they reawakened a sense of empathy that I don't think I was capable. I wasn't capable of for a long time, or I had lost as I became a young adult. Yeah. And you pay attention. The depression thing, though, I'm sure that the number of people who are seeking mental health counseling and marital counseling and all the other kinds of counseling that we all need after this. I was really lucky when I was in college and I was diagnosed with depression when I was in college and thought I had like mono or something that was just a debilitating long-term minor illness. Yeah. And when the doctor's like, no, I don't think you have mono. I think you're probably depressed. Why don't you go talk to the therapist over here? And like, that really worked for me. It was really good and helped me figure it out. But part of that for me is learning triggers, the things that set me off and send me down on a spiral. And we're in a, like, normally it's goofy stuff. Like, I'm almost out of shampoo and I don't have any replacement shampoo. And it's like the stupidest thing in the world. But I've learned that if I just keep a spare bottle of shampoo, I don't put myself in that situation and can avoid that. And the situation we're in now, it's hard to avoid the stuff that will set you off.
It really is. And I also don't mean, like, there's a lot of denial of depression online. There's a lot of factions of people who feel like depression just doesn't exist and refuse to acknowledge it. And I don't want to sound like I'm being a depression tourist here, because I'm family members and a lot of friends who it affects on a daily, hourly, lifetime basis. And I really see that and understand it. It's just, I was describing it the other day as, like, in this, you'll be going along just fine and being like, wow, I'm weathering this really well. And then your pencil breaks and you're like, I think I'm about to have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
And
It's
to
like
be
there's
fair,
no scale, right? It feels like frequently or at different times or unexpected times, the scale just disappears from your ability to deal.
And going to the online communities are very wide ranging in their ability to the signal noise ratio for being empathetic. Like, Twitter is not a good place to necessarily have an outlet and be vulnerable. And there are other, I mean, we're finding plenty of other places. Our Discord's a great place. I'm meeting new people there, and you sometimes going smaller, a lot smaller, is a lot better. Are there rituals that you do, Adam, that, like, you got to go back to reset yourself?
I talked to my partner about it. I talked to my wife, and I have learned that axiom, what I think I'm mad at is not what I'm mad at. What I think is getting me worked up is not the thing that's getting me worked up. Holding that as a mantra in my head and not trying not to give oxygen to what I think is the issue has turned out to be an incredibly vital mental exercise. And it's not at all like I'm always successful at it by any stretch of the imagination. But, there really is this. So obviously I'm attempting to watch the watcher. I'm attempting to kind of bump up a level of my consciousness about it, to not just be absorbed by it, but also to see it in context. Even if I don't feel it in context, I can see it and behave as if it is in context, even if it doesn't make any sense to me in that emotional moment.
That, I think, is the most important one. Even the kind of factual acknowledgement to yourself that even if I'm not ready emotionally to go through the journey of figuring out what I'm actually angry about, or the thing that's bugging me, but knowing that that's detached from how I'm behaving, like that, super helpful.
So this is a thing that I want to call out, right? Because a lot of people who deny depression often think that it should just work just like that. And that's the most dangerous, that's the most pernicious, shitty aspect of that argument. Because it might work like that for some people who are affected less, but that's not what that's not what being affected by depression is really about. And so before we get into this, like, hey, I heard Adam say it, and it turns out that it's all, no.
If your depression is because of brain chemistry, no amount of being aware of yourself is going to help you.
No, I always think of Will Wheaton's beautiful phrase: depression doesn't want you to get better because depression is a dick.
Yeah, depression, it's not great.
So all that being said, I got to see Thing 2 yesterday. He came by to pick up some of his stuff, and I have a picture of it. And there he is with Julia and I, each like 15 feet away from him, and he's in the middle on the sidewalk, and we're having this conversation. And when my mom showed me the picture, it actually made me choke up because I miss hugging my kid.
Yeah,
he's quarantined somewhere else and doing his thing, and that's tough.
That part would be heartbreaking. Like that, like at least I'm cooped up in here with my 7-year-old and I can hug her anytime I want within reason.
Yeah. Well, and I'm talking to both my sons on a every few days at the very widest periodicity, so that I am getting in touch with them.
That's something, going to a grocery store and wearing the face mask, I'm finding trouble with, because before we were all wearing face masks, we would be distanced from each other, but we can do a head nod. There's a smile. There's some acknowledgement. With the
Right.
face mask, it's super tough because even if someone's smiling and giving you the acknowledgement, you don't feel it as much.
You got to work on your smizing, Norm. That's the secret.
At the same time, I'm finding when I walk. Look, we can talk about how well San Francisco is dealing with social distancing, but when I'm walking past the mask wearers and the careful in the Mission District, and we see each other walking, we both adjust to walk wider circles around each other, often out into the street so you can be far from two parents and their kid, etc. I'm doing a lot of, hey, how you doing? And I'm finding a lot of return of that. And in a way, this has made me closer to my neighbors than I ever have been.
The thing I've noticed going on walks and bike rides and stuff is that people you cross, A, there's a lot more foot traffic than there normally is, but B, there's much more, hey, how you doing? Hope everything's going. I hope you're staying safe, yada yada, like friendly small talk with people that we've never met before, obviously.
I had
nice. Yeah.
It is. I had that conversation with 3 dudes smoking a joint in front of my shop the other day. not the dudes I would have spoken to on a normal daily basis, but screw it. We are all we're all citizens of the world, right?
Well, we all something we all have in common.
I appreciate that. There's a way in which there's a unity to the social behavior that feels really unifying. Not a well-written phrase, but you know what I mean.
You need to work on the poetry a little bit, Adam. I think Rome wasn't burned in a day.
We're talking about a tested T-shirt based on something I said, where the T-shirt just says, "Rhetorically, I'm a mess."
That seems right. That seems
right?
good.
Right. Hey, can I tell you about a film festival we watched this week?
Oh,
yeah, of course.
Yes,
that sounds great.
Elmore Leonard. We did in 3 nights. We did Jackie Brown, Out of Sight, and Get Shorty.
Wow,
that's a hellacious trio. Did you do them in that order?
Exactly in that order, and it's a fascinating order, because you remember when Get Shorty came out. It just maybe you don't, but when Get Shorty came out, it was a big deal. Everyone was like, "Holy cow, this amazing movie!" John Travolta was. Go ahead.
It's funny. I don't think I've seen it since it came out. I saw it in theaters, and I don't think I've been back to it since then. I've watched Out of Sight and Jackie Brown dozens of times each.
Yeah.
But Get Shorty didn't grab me.
Of the 3 movies, it is definitely the lightest of the 3 movies. But all 3 of those movies have perfect casts, excellent direction, 3 totally different directors. You have Barry Levinson for Get Shorty, Quentin Tarantino, of course, for Jackie Brown, and Steven Soderbergh at the peak of his powers for Out of Sight, with a George Clooney who is literally 15 years younger than I am now. In Out of Sight, it's weird to see him so young.
That was one of his first things. It was like that and The Peacemaker were his first few things out of.
Oh my god!
You know what?
3 Kings.
I watched
Peacemaker.
I watched Peacemaker about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Because Mimi Leder, who directed it and is a terrific director, I think Mimi Leder did some of the episodes of Watchmen.
Oh, that would make sense. That movie's really well put together. I think it was not it was very thrilling, but it kind of rolls off of you, as I recall.
But it's absolutely it's a beautifully made film, perfectly put together. It's just really solid, excellent action adventure film.
That was the first DreamWorks film, wasn't it?
Was it really?
I think. I mean, so we watched Trolls World Tour this weekend when it was, because they did the home release for $20 thing, and which was very good music, lovely message, good. The animation in those movies is astounding. They do all the physicality based renders that are just rad, and it opens with the 25th anniversary of DreamWorks open title card. And I was just like, oh shit, DreamWorks has been around for 25 years. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Barry Sonnenfeld. That's what was bothering me.
Oh, I
Get
said
Shorty.
Barry Levinson.
Yes,
it's Barry
yes.
Yeah. He went from that on to Men in Black, right?
He did. And the reason I want to bring that up, there was an interesting Twitter thread that I was reading over the weekend of filmmakers in the 80s and 90s had unbelievable streaks in their run. When you think of John Carpenter, right? Ridley Scott and
Tony Scott.
Tony Scott, absolutely.
Yeah.
And not like, Tarantino, because every one of his movies, but if they're very far apart, like there are some filmmakers in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s who just every year amazing pieces of
turning out
art.
something incredible. Yeah.
Yep. And I think Barry Sonnenfeld should be on that list.
Oh,
from Addams Family to
yeah.
Get Shorty, The Men in Black.
It's a hell of a run.
Yeah.
That thread, are you talking about, did the Alex Navarro thread about Nick Cage movies spawn this? Yeah, it was a good thread.
By the way, Men in Black is maybe the only franchise in which I think the third movie is better than the other two.
Is the third one the one with Josh Brolin? Josh Brolin.
Yep. Josh Brolin doing an amazing young Tommy Lee Jones impression.
Yeah. That one has the heart at the end. And I think
it really
that
does.
one, Rick Baker at his most powerful in terms of all the creature designs they threw in there.
I remember texting Rick while he was working on that one, and I remember when it finally came out, I was like, "Oh, how is it?" And he was like, "It's actually good."
I remember
too many films.
There was a moment somewhere after the 21 Jump Street movies were gone when Lord and Miller were theoretically making a 21 Jump Street / Men in Black crossover that was long rumored. And look, Lord and Miller, they did okay for themselves in the time after that. I'm fine with what they've done. I think, Spider-Verse, pretty good. I'd watch that again. But I would love to see that Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover with Channing Tatum and
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. Thanks, Storm. Yeah.
This feels like the preamble. I don't feel like we've gotten to the meat of the podcast.
Yeah. What are we talking about today, guys?
I want to apologize for being a little late to the podcast. The world doesn't know this, but you guys waited around for me for about 6 minutes. I was I got some new parts of the Eagle Moss Ecto 1, and I was building out my so when I get a kit like that with all those moving parts, I tend to build temporary storage for them so I can move them around and get them out of my way without having to move a ton of little tiny parts and pieces. So I was doing that. Yeah. So I was doing that, getting ready for the build tomorrow, because on the live stream or today, I guess if people are listening to this podcast today, I'm doing a live stream at 1 p.m. and part of that live stream will be me continuing the Eagle Moss Ecto 1.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this is one you're weathering as you're building along, which is not something you did when you did the Millennium Falcon D'Agostini kit.
No, and it's kit by kit. I mean, if I was going to do the Eagle Moss DeLorean, I think I'd do it just as it is, because it's beautiful. And the weathering, I mean, I actually might do really subtle weathering just to call out some details and make it look a little more scale, but it would be subtle.
Like getting edges and stuff like that popping a little bit better.
Exactly. Besides all that, I've been slowly making my way through season 2 of Westworld to watch season 3.
That's
I'm really
a good binge.
Enjoying it. Jeffrey Wright is a national treasure who deserves more acclaim for his excellent abilities as an actor and storyteller.
And Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh my God.
Especially.
She's been amazing since Once and Again. Yeah, she's been amazing since she was 12.
I don't want to spoil this because both those seasons, and now in the third season it builds up to the last 2 episodes having a lot of things coming together and reveals that make you reevaluate the what you've seen so far. But performance in the second season, I'm really curious. When you get to the end, are you close to the end?
I'm exactly halfway through.
Okay. There are some actors that we love that when you rewatch, or by the time you get to the end, we'll have to talk about their performance throughout this season, because it's very conscious decisions they made. Yeah. And it's also, a
cosplay that I think is really interesting, and I've actually have an idea about how to do it, are the blank figures walking around season 2.
Which they're very like full body suits, right? They're just like silicone layers over
body. Yeah. I think those are foam latex. But they're super elaborate. Yeah, complete full body sculpts they're amazing.
I haven't seen this. What do they look? Were they just like mannequins walking around, or like?
No, there's something kind of out of Hellraiser. They're all white, and yet what they look like is connective tissue showing muscle underneath.
Oh,
Yeah, it's definitely nightmare fuel. If
they
these
like
things
the
popped up in your nightmare, you'd be like, "Oh, shit got real."
they're like they're like the anatomical models from the opening credits.
Yeah,
We'd come to life. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Norm, I want to tell you actually. So this is apropos of nothing, but I shot a bunch of new builds last week, and one of them was I fixed something on my table saw, and I had gotten a care package from Tom Sachs, and one of the things I got from him was this. So I wore it for the build in solidarity with Tom back in New York.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like my little
Beanie?
Snoopy cap.
Oh.
But yeah,
Oh, yeah, I see.
It's a Snoopy. Yeah, it's a Snoopy from the
it's a little like a space
program.
program cap.
Yeah.
Gina and I on Saturday night were playing board games or working on a puzzle or something, and literally couldn't figure out. Usually we put a movie or something on, and we didn't want to watch a movie, so I just loaded up the first season of The Good Place, and we accidentally watched the entire first season of The Good Place, which it turns out is like it's just the best thing. Like it is so smart and so well done, and even when you know what's coming, it still is absolutely wonderful. Oh, we lost Norm.
We lost Norm.
Norm's video is gone, and also apparently his audio.
Wait, I'll be back. Hold on.
Okay. Norm turned off the camera.
I changed my angle.
Oh. Whoa, fancy.
Wow.
But yeah, that first season of The Good Place, I'm gonna go back and watch the whole rest of it because I haven't watched the last season, which just aired earlier this year or late last year.
I haven't either.
I kind of don't. It's one of those ones that like it's why I stopped watching The West Wing is I don't want it to end ever. Like in my head, I want that show to be continuing.
Norm disappeared again.
It's fine.
Are you guys only watching old stuff? Is that where you find the most comfort?
No, actually, we saw that. Let's see what went up last night. Insecure, new season of Insecure premiered last night, and so did a new season of Killing Eve. Ooh. And also Run, which is Phoebe Waller-Bridge's new project, also had its first episode premiere. HBO released all the things last night.
Apple TV opened up Apple TV Plus to everyone last week, and if you haven't had a chance, For All Mankind is on there, and it's not perfect, but it's really neat, and the costumes and props are really well done. It's absolutely lovely work.
I gotta get on that.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things. It's like The Man in High Castle. You're gonna watch the first episode of it, and if you like it, you're gonna know immediately. You're gonna like write it all the way down, and if not, you're gonna back slowly away and be totally okay with that too. Right. But it is obviously made with a lot of love and care from the artists that work on the props and costumes and stuff.
So two people have now expressed to me an issue with wearing masks in public that I did not expect, and they both have roughly the same story. And one of them is my wife, who was walking down the street listening to a podcast on her AirPods when she took her mask off, and the mask kicked both her AirPods out and into a sewer grate.
Yep.
That was pulsing literally white liquid. Like the impossibility of ever seeing them again was immediately apparent, and they were gone. And somebody else just wrote to me and said, I just lost my AirPods down a sewer.
I fired one during fire season last year. I was getting a burrito or something on Mission, and when I took the mask off as I went into the shop, I fired them both out into the street on Mission, and one went into the sewer grate, and the other one was like midway into the bus lane. And it was great.
We made some more masks over the weekend, and that was a conscious part. The thing I hate about making masks is the two bands, right? One band, a low band and a high band. I like the high band pretty high around the back.
Yeah.
The low band, we put snaps on there. And so now it's
nice.
One band, and then we just snap it.
It's like a respirator. It's like the way your respirator goes on. So you hook it around my respirator, I hook it around my neck and then pull it up over the top of my head, and it kind of hooks the top of my head.
So easy snap, and then the top part just whips up, and it doesn't go, because manipulating with your ear, that's the worst part.
So the design that I followed for Mary Robin and Cowell modification is that it's a single shoelace that comes up one side around the back of your head and down the other way. So I put it on and do a little and then tie it, and it's really pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
I got a box of PTG aging to decontaminate in the garage right now, so I can cut some face shields for some friends who have
Oh, nice.
whose hospitals have already said, "Hey, y'all, you're on your own for the personal protective gear," and I'm like, "No, man, f that."
Wow.
I got
Yeah.
two recommendations for
Yeah.
movies. I know you guys recommend TV shows. I find new shows are tough for me to jump in right now, but easy to put 90 minutes into a movie. One, it's on Netflix, Death of Stalin. It's
Yep.
Okay. That sounds
Armando
light.
Iannucci. It's the same guy who did Veep and In the Loop. It's
Right.
pure
Right. Right.
comedy, pure
Wow.
farce, satire about the death of Stalin, loosely based on what actually happened with the power grabs that happened in 1953. And it's hilarious.
Norm, this does not sound like light fare,
Wow.
given the
Yeah.
kind of
No,
post-Stalin purges that happened.
It's the type of like ridiculous farce that I needed. And then there's a movie on Amazon Prime. It's on the Shudder network, but it's a Japanese zombie movie called One Cut of the Dead. And I find it really tough to talk too much about this movie because there's a big reveal in it. But it's comedy also. It's a comedy zombie movie. And the first 37 minutes of the film is a single take. And that's all I'll
What?
say.
Wow. Speaking of that, I watched 1917 again.
Oh,
I
still doing it for you?
oh my God. Like, even though the material is tough, I find that film so beautiful and the performances so moving and feel so real. And to be honest, as a I'm not a filmmaker, but as a storyteller in visual mediums that are film adjacent, it's hard for me to turn off the button that wants to look for the cuts. And so actually in successive viewings, I'm more able to, this is like the third time I've watched it. I'm more able to sort of give up that stuff and really glory in how precise the pacing of the storytelling is, given that they shot it completely perfectly linearly. It's bizarre.
The editor has said they'll never reveal how many cuts, but I wonder if over time, let's say a decade from now, 2 decades from now, some retrospective, if they'll do a commentary or show an image of their timeline to finally show where the cuts are, or if that's
I would
something they want to
love
hold
see
tight.
that. I would love to see that premiere timeline for that film.
Good Lord. I mean, yeah, it's amazing.
Have you guys watched Anna and the Apocalypse, the zombie comedy from? I feel like it's I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, it's worth watching. It's really lovely, and it's on one of the streaming services. I can't remember which one, but it's a zombie comedy musical, and it evoked Buffy vibes for me
Oh,
in
wow.
a lot of really positive ways.
All right.
So
Yeah,
I
we've been
also
doing a bit of television every single night to sort of wind down. And well, I've also been I think I've beaten most of the pistol whip layers on hard. Oh, do you want
have
to
you
know
tried the new
what's
one? That Full Throttle one is unbelievable.
the full throttle one? I still haven't made it through on hard. I think I made it through on easy, on medium. But I discovered scavenger mode.
In Pistol Whip?
Scavenger mode is you only have 15 bullets unless you pistol whip someone in front of you and then you get their clip.
Is that one of the modifiers?
Uh-huh. It's a game
Oh, I haven't
modifier.
tried that.
It's really fun because it takes like it took me a while to get up the nerve to do pistol whips instead of shooting people to get up that close with them. But yeah, my legs are getting really strong.
Have you? Beat Saber released a fitness-oriented map last week or this week that has. It's way more leg work. It is intense on the legs. It's
because it has you dodging obstacles and things.
It has lots of obstacles, and you're ducking and dodging and bobbing and weaving and the whole thing. I also fired up Box VR, which if you haven't tried is like a boxing type workout thing.
Yeah.
That like I did 20 minutes of that the other day, and it wore me out pretty good.
Okay. All right.
My arms were sore the next day, which I didn't expect without weights.
Fighting?
So
who are you fighting?
No. So yeah. No, you're basically just doing like you have balls flying at you, you have to punch them, but he wants you to do specific like crosses and jabs and uppercuts and stuff like that, and dodging. So it's more like shadow boxing, the stuff that I've done so far.
I see. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was neat though.
I did some Lego over the weekend.
Ooh, what'd you build?
This
Yeah.
is a kit I ordered. I didn't know this existed, so I'm doing an
That's a Lego
impromptu
kit?
show and tell. So Lego launched this. If you're just listening to the audio, I'm holding. It's a koi fish, and it's a Lego Technic set that they launched on as a crowd-funded campaign in 2018 called Lego
Wow.
Forma. This is on Indiegogo for about $30, and I had to buy it on eBay for about $50. But
Wow,
it's an automaton.
That is so
lovely.
pretty.
How is the skin just a sheet of like plastic that you fold over? Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
plastic and they launched it with different skins. So you can find these on eBay, but like there's a shark
Wow.
skin and different ones. This is the koi fish ones, has the
That's so
the
good.
mustache,
That's
the
beautiful.
whiskers, and they're I think they're only official automaton that they've done.
Wow.
So we
gorgeous.
did Lego this weekend too. We went through the pile of shame in the garage that we bought but never built, and did the Simpsons house, which is it's incredible. It's so good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a fun one. I think we're gonna do a Pooh's shop next, but it like just as a thing when somebody needs a moment where you have the bags there, you grab a set of bags out, you build for an hour, and it helps idle hands or the devil's plaything or something. I can't remember what the saying is.
We should do a spoiler cast next week. We should find a movie that we can all watch between now and next week. Maybe one that we'll revisit or a new one, but we can come up with one that you've been itching to talk about or itching to watch.
Trolls World Tour is just really, really just Trolls World Tour is gonna change your life, guys.
Will you send a list? I'd love to.
I'll send a list. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll send a list, and then we'll also put out there for people if there's something that they want to suggest that they want to hear our thoughts on. They can post in the comments, and we'll have 6 days to go watch it and then talk about it. Yeah.
Did we ever do I don't think we were doing spoiler casts for like the earlier MCU movies. Were we? Did we do a Winter Soldier spoiler cast? I feel like maybe we
talked
over
the episodes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's enough to make for a spoiler cast.
You think we're good? Okay.
I think we're good. Yeah.
I think I just watched that movie about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's one of my go-to like safe spaces.
Yeah. That and Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess
that's as good a place to stop as any. Yeah.
Go ahead, Norm.
No, I was gonna say if there's a movie you want us to watch and talk about, and it's available on like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, that's the easiest way. We'll also rent it, no problem. It's something new, but we'll announce it on Twitter and on our Discord what movie we're gonna watch, so you guys can watch it too, and then we'll talk about it.
Excellent.
On the Tech Pod this week at techpod.content.town, we had a friend of Tested, Mike Micah, on and talked about how old video games work. So we talked about like how electronics wizards turned dumb circuits into games like Pong, all the way through how you own and maintain arcade machines, and like we talked about the end of CRTs and all the way through to like FPGA based emulators that can basically reprogram. These FPGA emulators are amazing because you can buy a thing for $150 that basically replicates the actual circuitry in an old console or arcade machine.
Oh my God. Wow.
And so you get exactly precise emulation of the hardware that you then can run the software on. And we went into that. He's on the board of the Video Game History Foundation. So they do they do preservation for source code and materials surrounding games and all that stuff. It was a really lovely chat that we had with him. You can find that at techpod.content.town.
Lovely. Norm, what's coming up on the site?
We got your builds. So we actually are, you alluded to earlier, but Adam, you are generating a lot of awesome builds and I hope having fun documenting them with your phone. So people can look forward to a lot of your quarantine builds rolling out starting this week.
I'm hoping to churn out a few more this week.
All righty.
Cool.
All right.
Well, until then, we'll see you guys next week, and we'll do a spoiler cast then.
Thanks,
guys. Bye, guys. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.